Sure, yeah. Usual. That's not really anything new.
Here.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Village Board on Monday, February 5th at 7 PM in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom, and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present, and we have trustee Pieper, who is joining us via WebEx tonight. At this time, I'll ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is President's Report, and for the President's Report tonight, we have some presentations and awards to give out for the Germantown Fire Department, so I'll ask Battalion Chief Robert Asmonti to come forward for the presentations.
Just assembling all of our crews here. We're actually going to have 3 awards tonight that we're going to be presenting. All 3 of them are separate incidents, so we'll kind of go through them and give a brief synopsis, and then we'll actually present the awards. So the first one is going to be on behalf of Battalion Chief Riker Holmes. He is unable to make it tonight. He's attending a class. I believe he's probably on WebEx watching, so this will be on behalf of his shift of Blue Shift. The Life-Saving Award for actions taken on January 8th, 2024. The Village of Germantown, the Village of Germantown Fire Department takes pride in acknowledging the positive actions of our members. One way that we acknowledge these is in the form of award, certificate, and uniform bar that can be proudly displayed on their Class B uniforms, which they're all currently wearing this evening. A summary of each of the awards is available, but for this time, we're just going to focus on the Life-Saving Award that they're receiving tonight. To receive the Life-Saving Award, the individual must be a member of the fire department who is principally involved in saving the life of another person whose personal actions were directly responsible for the life-saving act. On January 8th, 2024, the Germantown Fire Department was called upon to respond for an individual who was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Along with our public safety partners at the Germantown Police Department, the Germantown Fire Department members responded to the request. The EMS staff performed an advanced life support assessment on the patient and immediately initiated advanced cardiac life support protocols. Advanced cardiac life support is the same treatment that is performed in hospitals and emergency departments by physicians and their teams across the United States. Your Germantown Fire Department paramedics provided airway management, multiple defibrillations, several medications, and several rounds of CPR, all while at the patient's house and in the ambulance. Through their actions, the patient regained a pulse prior to arrival at the hospital. The members continued to provide advanced life support care until arriving at the hospital, ensuring that the patient would have the best possible outcomes. The patient has since been discharged from the hospital and was able to return home. Without doubt, the actions of the responders of this call successfully brought this patient back to life. For that reason, on behalf of Battalion Chief Riker Holmes, I, Battalion Chief Robert Asmonti, will be presenting the following members with the Life-Saving Award. First one is firefighter paramedic Christopher Piet. The next one will be firefighter paramedic Susan Weisflow. Next one is firefighter paramedic Alec Dematopoulos. Firefighter paramedic Sean Schaefer. And firefighter paramedic John Wolf.
All right, I've got a life safety award. This one is, seems like it was almost forgotten, but it wasn't. This occurred back in May of last year. There's at least one individual in this group that, was also on the first resuscitation. I'm gonna skip to, the actual event. May 20th, 2023, Germantown Fire Department as well as the Germantown Police Department responded to a request that was, individual was down in the backyard. Germantown police officers arrived on scene and found the individual was not breathing, had no pulse. They began CPR and applied the AD and shocked one time prior to Germantown Fire Department arrival. Germantown Fire Department members arrived on scene and took over CPR and began advanced life-saving measures. Initial EMS assessment found no pulse and no breathing. A pulse was regained shortly thereafter, and the individual began to breathe on their own. Individual was moved to the cot, transported for additional life-saving measures. Germantown Fire Department paramedics provided airway management, EKG monitoring, medication administration, CPR while in the backyard of the patient's residence. The members continued to provide advanced life support care until transferring the patient at the hospital. Several days later, the patient was discharged from the hospital and returned home. You three want to come up, Forrest? Start with you, Alex. Alex Dematopoulos. Paramedic Forrest Rodman. And firefighter EMT Mike Martinich.
All right, last one for the night. Get my phone for this one. This incident occurred, the call number was 23-2339. On December 14th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Germantown Fire Department was requested for a person who had fainted multiple times. Engine 1762 was staffed with Lieutenant Amy Bull and firefighter EMT Craig Rossman as they were out doing fire inspections when the call came out. As they were responding to the scene, dispatch had notified them that the person who had fainted multiple times was installing a water heater. Due to the information received as 1762 arrived on scene, they had their quad gas meter out and ready to start taking readings of the elevated gas potentially. Lieutenant Bull and firefighter EMT Rossman approached the doorway while they were getting elevated natural gas readings. The initial caller had reported to the crew that the person installing the water heater was still downstairs. Lieutenant Bull and firefighter EMT Rossman had to go back out to the engine, don their turnout gear with the SCBA pack, and they went into what we call the IDLH environment, which is immediate danger to life and health. And they were able to find the downed individual, and they had no backup coming for minutes. Our first out ambulance was already on a call. We mutual aid with Menominee Falls. They were still 5-6 minutes out, and we were still doing callbacks to try to get additional resources on scene. They were able to go downstairs, find a downed firefighter, and the downed person, and who was located by the water heater. At the time, the downed person was unresponsive. Lieutenant Bull and firefighter EMT Rossman dragged the downed person to the stairwell and proceeded to drag and assist the individual up the stairwell, while the whole basement still is filling with natural gas in the basement, creating that IDLH environment. While the call was going on, the ambulance was brought out to the scene, and Lieutenant Bull and firefighter Rossman brought the individual outside to the waiting cot. Lieutenant Bull and firefighter Rossman then proceeded to provide patient care to the downed person. After the individual was transported to Menominee Falls by Lieutenant Bull and firefighter Rossman. Menominee Falls engine arrived later on scene along with a PLC firefighter from Germantown to start ventilating the residents, and We Energies was contacted, and eventually the scene was turned over to We Energies. These two individuals completed the rescue of the individual down in the basement. They then treated the person, took the individual to the hospital, all while being completely gassed after dragging an individual up the stairs. It is my honor to present the Medal of Honor Award, which is the highest award a member of the Germantown Fire Department can receive, to both Lieutenant Amy Bull and firefighter Craig Rossman for their actions that took place on this call. Both went into an IDLH environment knowing that there was not another crew to rescue them if they got into trouble, and to rescue an unresponsive person, drag the person up the stairs from the basement, and still have the energy to provide patient care and transport him to Menominee Falls. The Medal of Honor, in order to receive it, the firefighter must be a member of the department to perform the duties while on call under extreme hazardous conditions in which the member is confronted with imminent personal risk and has full knowledge of that risk, performs an action of heroism which furthers the highest tradition of the fire service. They went in there knowing there was no backup, elevated readings, far more than what we should be going into to bring the individual out, but we knew that the rescue was imminent. So with this, I'm going to present the Medal of Honor to Lieutenant Amy Bull. And the second one goes to her partner, firefighter Craig Rossman. Thank you for the time. We do take very big pride in being able to give these awards. They don't happen very often. So we do thank you for the time and being able to share it with everyone tonight. So thank you very much.
We thank you for allowing us this public recognition of the fire department. Normally this would be done by Chief Delane, but I understand he's sick. So I appreciate the Battalion Chief Asmani coming and presenting these, allowing us to publicly recognize our firefighters and what they truly do for us on a regular basis. It helps to show us what an actively trained and properly trained unit can do and the lives that they save each and every day. So for that, we thank you and appreciate not only your service, but your daily active training to help get you to this part and save residents out there on a regular basis. So thank you very much. All right, that takes care of President's report tonight. So we then can go to announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports. We'll start with committee chairs with Trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet in this room on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday at 5:30 PM.
All right, thank you. Trustee Rick Miller.
General Government and Finance will meet on February 19th in this room at 6 PM.
All right, thank you. Trustee Hudson.
Public Safety will meet in this room Monday, March 4th at 6 PM.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to bring forward? If there are none other, we can then go to citizen input. For those that wish to participate in citizen input that are within our audience, please fill out a yellow slip and you're available to come to the podium to present your citizen input. I ask that we do fill out one of these slips so that we can enter your name into the record. For those that are joining us via WebEx that would like to join or participate in citizen input, just please make your wishes known so that the website moderator can bring you forward at the time that it's your turn. So is there anyone in our audience at this time that would like to come forward for citizen input? Push the button so that the light goes out, ma'am. It's right at the base. Yep. Got it.
Okay. My name is Lynn Schauer, and again, I have 3 minutes, and since I've been coming to these meetings, I think we need to get more citizens involved. One thing that really irritates us, the citizens of this community, is there's too many secret meetings of the board. Our money is what you depend on to pay what you're voting on. And there seems to be a tone deaf to the public. And I think more people who are here tonight, our taxpayers, should let their neighbors come to these meetings because this is ridiculous. And this housing project, we don't have to do this. There's builders out there that are making millions of dollars. Go talk to one and have them come in and buy the property and build what's supposed to be built with the county pushing this stuff. I listed insurances went up 17 to 20% for most people. My supplement went up to $600 coming in 2024. My car insurance went up $100 and some dollars every couple months. That's $600 a year. And where am I going to come to you for that extra money? No, can't give myself a raise. And I think that you got to start saying no here to this stuff. We don't need to do all this stuff people are pushing on this community. We don't need to pay this money. And our tax money is what you should be concerned about. If I get taxed out of here, I can't live here. And it's ridiculous. I'm paying over $5,000 a year for taxes. That's crazy. And I think you should be protecting the citizens, the taxpayers in their tax base, and work and do things that are going to save us money and not constantly be going to us for your pay, for what you're voting for. Somebody's got to say no to something once in a while. And I don't hear that with anything. And so I'm just getting up to the point where I don't know if I can afford to pay what you people want to put into effect here. I don't think I can. I'm on Social Security. I have a limited income. You're working for a living. You can put yourself a pay raise if you want. I can't do that. And neither can most taxpayers. So I think that we should start, if there's any taxpayers here, get your neighbors and that to start coming here and start getting involved. Otherwise, we're going to be taxed into oblivion where we can't afford it. Everything is getting ridiculous. My grocery bill is ridiculous for one person. And I don't even buy that much expensive stuff. I haven't had a steak for like 5 years probably. I mean, I don't need that. But the thing is, if I got a budget, I think you as a community using our money need to be budgeting and say no to this stuff. Every time I come here, it's millions of dollars are being spent. And I can't afford it. I can't afford it anymore. So I'm going to just ask you to appreciate our public responsibility already, where we can't live. I can't ask a tenant to go pay $500 a month to live so I can pay my bills. I can't do that. I bought my home because I have one income property next door to me, and I can't raise her rent. I can't do that. I don't want it to be done to me and nobody else who's a taxpayer here. So I don't mean to be upset, but I am, because I can see the writing on the wall. We aren't saying no to very much in this board meeting, and I think we don't need to do half the stuff that you're looking to do. We don't need to do it. So those are my comments again.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input? Mr. Weslowski, he's got it.
Hi there. Good, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Stephen Wazalowski, and my address is West 169 North 10427 on Pheasant Run in the Old Farm subdivision. And Lynn has gotten me fired up now. That was good. Very good. Good job. I guess one thing I wanted to talk about again is I know we're still in negotiations about land on County Line Road east of Fleet Farm for the sewer lift station replacement number 6. And I wanted to briefly talk again about that. Back in, I think it was maybe October, November, I provided a handout to the board on alternatives, and there are alternatives that nobody has been looking at, or I should say, I think staff is just directing people into one direction. And if somebody would like to receive that handout, I can provide it to you. I think Terry was on vacation overseas somewhere, I think, at the time when I did that. So if you'd like to get a copy, I'd like to get you a copy of that. It's pertinent to Public Works, and especially with our Utility Advisory Committee looking into things there. Since I handed out that handout, I've been in contact with the Waukesha, Washington County officials, and have had meetings with them about our sewer lift station over there. Because I'm hearing rumors that, well, it's in road right away, can't stay there. Well, I did some more check. It is in road right away. And the county says, well, so that's not the first station to be built in road right away. I mean, the road can't go any further. And they explained to me on their 2050 plan, any extension of the roadway or expansion will occur west of 175 Appleton Avenue where the development will occur. They're pretty much landlocked from the freeway to 175. So they said they were curious why we wanted to, what were my point of view on that? And I said, the village thinks we need to move it onto private property. They said, do you realize how many millions you'll spend moving that sewer lift station? I said, apparently our village thinks they have the money for it. So I've provided information. You won't hear the end of that. I've also talked to our new village engineer, Kevin, on that, and I'm going to be having a meeting next week with him on that topic. Item number 2, and nobody may actually be aware of this, but being a retiree of We Energies, when I drive my vehicle, I'm always looking at electric wires and poles. The village is undergoing a lot of redevelopment of our distribution system. Mequon Road's being all redone. If you drive down on the north side of the roadway, you'll see fiberglass arms extended out. We're replacing conductors. We're going to upgrade the voltage from 8,000 volts to 24,000 volts in the future here. That's all being undertaken. We're going down Division Road. They've replaced almost every pole on Division Road going back down to, I think, about Revere. That whole area is going to get transferred over to a new voltage. The Pilgrim substation over here will be abandoned and eliminated. But one thing that I've noticed, and I know at communities, everybody's pet peeve is people on the board, planners, everybody says, we don't like looking at electric poles. We don't like to look at wires. We got to bury those wires from overhead to underground. And that usually takes place when we have a new development occurring or we're modifying an existing area. And I can see sometime down the road that someone might say, we want to make Mequon Road our downtown area. Question will come up, can we bury the power lines? Sure, we can bury the power lines. But one thing that really bothered me, and nobody probably knows, I gave you a handout that shows the intersection of Western and Mequon Road. And I wish I had a picture. I didn't get time to get a picture. But by our Village of Germantown police station sign, you'll notice the electric company placed a nice wooden pole there. There's never been electric poles on the south side of the roadway. They installed that pole, and what they're doing is they're using it as a guy stub pole, what we call a guy stub pole, to bring guy wires across the road. This pole has about 3 or 4 down guys coming down to the ground. And they've got their attachments to make it safe with bright yellow markers. It looks great by our sign. And my first question is, who the hell approved that from the village? Because first of all, we either had to get a permit to put a pole in road right away. And I'm not sure, when I drive by and look at it, hard to tell with the snow. I haven't been there lately. I'm wondering if that pole's not on private property, village property. So they should have attained an easement to put that pole there. There was never a pole there to start with. We don't need that pole. They could keep the line the way it was originally designed. So I guess I would just ask you to take a look at this, because I think it looks like hell. And if you really think don't like that, I can get you in touch with the people that could get that pole moved, because it should not have been placed there. And just off the top of my head, a crazy idea too is if you decided that pole should stay there, to make our sign more visible, I would recommend putting a plywood sign on top of the pole that says Village of Germantown Police Station, so that everybody knows where the police station is. We don't need a ground mounted sign. It's bizarre, but get the pole out of there. It pisses me off. And I worked there for 35 years. The very last thing has to do with, I know there's always discussions about the future police department. Should we rebuild? Should we move it? I know there's all talk about putting it over by the old Public Works building that eventually will go away. And I gave you a handout there. And I think I once mentioned this. I know the old PNC Bank property, they're bounded by Lannon Road, Maple, and Mequon, that triangular piece of land. A good portion of that is for sale. Now, I know the village loves buying property recently. So this would be an ideal piece of property to go after. Because, and I list some benefits, what I think are benefits there. Got to remember that the police station would remain in the southern half of the community. That's where 90% of the population is located, and 90% of the calls originate in that area. And I've also, one time, I think I've Phil, I once had a talk with you and you said, well, Steve, 20 years, 20, 30 years from now, maybe the police station up on 145 is a good spot because we'll have people living out there. I got to tell you,
I think you're putting words in my mouth. So please don't,
Okay, no, you didn't.
don't speak for me.
I'm sorry, but you did tell me that once. I once came to your house and we had a meeting. That was the
Yes,
time we
but-
referenced that.
But
Okay, I'm sorry. But some individuals have said that in 20, 30 years, the population is going to move out there. Population density is always going to be around Mequon Road. I don't care what happens because long-term planning, I think,
Mr. President, I'm going to bring a point of order. We're at 3 minutes. If we require everyone else to talk to 3 minutes, I don't think it's fair
We'll finish up on this topic.
to
and
allow this.
Steve can.
okay, thank you.
step down.
Thank you. The location of a future police department provides good responses in all directions, east, west, north, south. On top of that, you're right on the interstate. How many calls do we have on the interstate for emergencies? We're right on top of the interstate. It's easy on, easy off. The village also has the opportunity to remodel an existing structure. And from an environmental and natural resource way, it's a great savings to the community. Why tear down another old building, put in all new resources out there when that building still continues to stand? And lastly, I think the big item is, as Lynn's pointed out, the village doesn't have $35 million to spend on a new police station. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input?
Oh, yeah.
Gil?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna trip over that. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I have a couple of questions this evening. I already made some comments about how I think that there's a bit of all or nothing language in the wording of the referendum that we reviewed with public safety. So I hope that the sentence that says the Germantown Fire and Police Department will be unable to increase staffing levels and I can't read my own writing. Public safety staff will continue to be limited in their ability to respond to calls or provide proactive services will be changed. I don't think that's actually true. I think that if you really wanted to, you could make some changes and you could find a way if the referendum doesn't pass. So my next question is about the Grossnick properties that the village apparently is continuing to pursue purchase of. And the Godfrey Kahn Environmental Council agenda item. I'm wondering why, is this something that the taxpayers are paying for? Because normally something like that would be paid for by the developer. And if it is being paid for by us, does that mean the village is the developer of this property if this were to go through? And I don't think that's a really good idea. The evidence is of the poorly executed Holy Hill Gateway developments that have occurred. They are just ugly monoliths. Get some professionals if you're going to go forward with that. And then the last thing is a question. I happened to read the Ozaki newspaper recently, and there were 4 contenders for Port Washington's administrator position, and one of them was our administrator. And so I think that as taxpayers, we are owed an explanation as to why he was interviewing for a position in another town. And it seems they picked somebody else. But why would you do that? And I also see that his performance review may be on here later today in one of the secret meetings. I don't know. I mean, that seems to be on there almost every time. So I think we're owed an explanation. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input? You?
It's been a little while since I've been here. Scott Heffley, W159 N10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown, of course. I can walk here from where I live. I drive by here all the time. Let's talk about mailboxes for a second. I got a beautiful postcard I handed to Trustee Baum, one of my trustees. It says, we're not responsible. I'm sorry that our plows smashed your mailbox. You can pay for it. And it's clearly stated that on there. I gave it to you. So is this another thing where it doesn't matter, no matter what happens to your property, apparently it's never the village's fault, ever. They smash your mailbox, it's their fault. I don't get that, guys. And I know our attorney's gonna say, well, then you're admitting liability. Really, on $100 mailbox, you're worried about that? I had 4 neighbors that smashed, their mailbox were smashed, and they asked me about it. I don't know why. Maybe they think I come to meetings, but we gotta change what we're doing. We have to decide on a case-by-case basis, not just say, we're never wrong about anything. Apparently, the only time we're wrong is if somebody kills somebody and they're a worker for the village, then maybe we'll take a look at it. I think it's ridiculous. Moving on. Our website hosting, when do we RFP this contract? I heard it's on auto renew with an automatic increase every year. Do we just give them 6, 7, 8 years? I mean, it's going to double since 2016. I know costs are going up, but I mean, this is taxpayer money. Everything you do spends taxpayer money, all right? I'm glad to see the gentleman from the distillery here, and I'm glad to see that we didn't run them through too big of a ringer when they were here, although I was worried at the Plant Commission when I reviewed that. They seemed like they were being on a Spanish Inquisition about this and that and all these code violations. Well, that's not their fault. I'm happy to hear that it looks like it's going through. We got to quit picking on people that live here and work here and are entrepreneurs here and let them do the things they want to do for all of us. We certainly roll out the red carpet to every developer that never lives here and just makes money here. Let's help out the people that actually pay taxes in this village. So at least I heard that's going through, so I'm going to keep watching that. Final thing is, very surprised about the Grosnick properties. Boy, they're looking more exciting all the time, aren't they? You know what? It's looking like a bad idea. If you have to retain environmental counsel, that is not a good thing. That means there's embedded environmental problems with that property. You can ask people that grew up here that have been here longer than all of us, and they'll tell you that that used to be a park, and that when there's rain, there's a swamp, it's pretty much a marsh. They used to call it the marsh back in the 50s, okay? It's not if you want to develop it, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of taxpayer money, and none of us asked you to do that. There's not one person that I know that said, hey, guys, go buy those properties. No idea what we're doing with those. Not in our budget. Looking like a dumber idea all the time. We're wasting taxpayer dollars. I know we identified it for next-gen housing. It's not going to work there without a whole bunch of, apparently, why are you bringing in environmental consulting attorneys? There must be a huge problem. And again, nothing in the information about that. And by the way, it's not in closed session. Where's the information about why we're retaining an attorney? There is nothing in the packet. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input? Anyone else for citizen input? Anybody on WebEx? Nope, nobody's hand is raised. Then we can go to the next item on the agenda, which is consent agenda. Board?
Move approval of consent agenda items A through G.
Motion made by trustee Baum, second by trustee Warren to approve consent agenda items A through G. Is there any discussion on that motion? Trustee Chan Miller.
Yes, I would like to pull item A as in apple and G as in George,
Okay.
please.
Further discussion? No further discussion. We'll do a roll call vote on consent agenda items B through F. Hold A and G.
So we're pulling item A and G, so you have B, C. Okay,
B through F, right.
I agree. Making sure. Thank you. Trustee Warren? Trustee Nyrider?
Aye.
Trustee Bum?
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Phil Hudson?
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky? Trustee Pieper?
Aye.
And President Walter?
Aye. Consent agenda item A, trustee Chan Miller.
Thank you. I was looking through the meeting notes from December 18th, 2023. And item in the packet for the minutes, item E as in Edward, it's a 5-year road program. There was a motion to accept, the road program. And then there was a motion to amend to include Division Road to be reevaluated for for the total reconstruction using remaining ARPA funds. And I thought that the motion was made by trustee Baum, yes, but I thought there was a dollar amount associated with that. So I'd like that reviewed. I didn't get to watch it before I came.
So you're looking to have the December 18th regular meeting minutes, the meeting itself reviewed to see if there was a dollar amount in the motion made by trustee Baum?
Correct.
Okay. With that, then, does it, village attorney, would we just let it sit and bring it back within the next meeting? Or would we need to have the village board vote on that request?
Well, certainly, I mean, the board needs to take some action, whether it's to approve as presented, to amend, or to otherwise do something with it, table it, postpone it to the next meeting, whatever. Something needs to happen with it in terms of what the board likes to do.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Trustee Jan Miller, would you like to make a motion of what you would like to do with item A from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to postpone this till the next meeting, please.
Okay.
February 5th.
Motion is made to postpone item A of the consent agenda and was seconded by trustee Hudson. Is there any discussion on that motion to postpone? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Takes us to consent agenda item G. Trustee Jan Miller.
Thank you. G is regarding the web and hosting annual contract. I did see that in the contract that was attached, there was an annual 5% increase. And my question was, when will the contract be reviewed again? So perhaps we haven't gotten to contracts yet in GGF, but it's automatic contracts I have a problem with. So I wanted to know if there was an end date and how long we've had this contract. And is it because we have Civic Plus and these are the only people that do the Civic Plus?
Village Administrator?
Yeah, I can answer those questions. The village has been using this web service since 2012. And the contract is renewed annually. So each year you have an opportunity to determine whether or not you would like to approve it. I would suggest, and Civic Clerk is a component of the web software that we're purchasing. So if we do not use this particular service for our website, we would no longer be able to use Civic Clerk. We'd have to find something to replace that. So it will be back up again for renewal next year. At this time, my suggestion would be that if that's something the board would like to review, we could look at other alternatives, and there are other software packages out there other than Civic Clerk. Granicus is one that I've used other places that I've worked, and I know that there are some others as well. But it is something that we could look for next year. Maybe that'd be a item to take to GGF. We get some more feedback from committee on whether or not they're satisfied with the web service and Civic Clerk.
Is the Civic Clerk the base for the website? Is it the platform?
No, it's really the other way around. The web service, the website is the foundation. Civic Clerk is an app that works off of the website.
And if you go to the website, what would you click on to get Civic Clerk? What I'm trying to understand.
Like
Is
the
it the agenda? Is it
agenda, it's the minutes, it's the packets. All of that is prepared in Civic Clerk and that's connected to the website. So
okay,
there's a component of Civic Clerk that staff works in.
Right.
Where we prepare those, and then when that's published, it all goes to the website and then it becomes available to the public.
and then is it stored automatically?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to review Civic Clerk at some time this year in GGF when we do other contracts. Does that make sense?
So your motion is to take the website and hosting annual contract and review it in the General Government and Finance Committee meeting to be determined.
Correct.
Okay? Motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded by trustee Ebal. Is there a discussion on that motion? Trustee Rick Miller?
This already went through GGF and was approved by the
We did.
committee.
So for this year,
Yeah, for this year.
I'm talking about next year.
Well, we always review for the following year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need a motion for that. Always review them. And part of this is that every 4 years, we get a refresh of the website. That's included in there, but it's every 4 years.
Oh,
So you're saying it was already brought through GGF and has been brought forward as,
Positive recommendation.
right, and that's what puts it on the consent agenda tonight? Okay?
but is it the fourth year coming up?
I believe that's 1 more year. So we have a refresh of our website in
2025?
2025.
But we would have to look at other
that-
companies.
What I'm saying is that would have to be taken into consideration then if we look for another one, that
Right.
we will get a refresh in 25 as part of our new contract with them.
Do you remember what meeting that was at?
Mm,
The date?
The GGF meeting?
Yeah.
The last one,
Okay.
one in January.
January 18th.
January?
Mhm.
Okay. So when would be a good opportunity to look at other, even if you get the upgrade?
Yeah, I guess we'd have to talk to Erin Hearn about that. She's the one who really manages that
Okay.
portion of it.
Okay, I just want it reviewed to see what other options are out there.
Well, So it's been reviewed. What you're asking for is to pursue other options for web hosting and looking for Civic Clerk.
Right,
So you're looking to, so your motion then is to bring it back to GGF to look at other opportunities or other services that provide municipality web hostings and whatever apps they have and to help with the agenda and the meeting notes.
correct.
All right, and is that how the second understands it?
No.
How do you understand it? You withdraw your second. Then we have a motion out there that still requires a second. Do we have a second on the motion to bring it back to GGF for review as stated? One last time, do we have a second on the motion? Motion fails for lack of a second. I need a motion in order to, I need a motion for item G consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve item G as presented.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Has a cost, correct? Roll call, trustee Hudson.
So how often do we seek outside bids for,
Well, for this particular item, We haven't taken bids since 2012. That's when this was
Okay.
implemented.
It's time.
And it is something, there's upgrading and changing a website is something typically, municipalities don't do frequently. It's something that can and should be looked at periodically.
Okay.
But,
Nope.
but it's been, it has been since 2012, since the last time we did an RFP for this.
Further discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Nyrider,
Aye.
trustee Bum,
Aye.
trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Phil Hudson,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, trustee Peeper,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye. Motion passes. Takes care of all items listed on tonight's agenda for consent agenda. That then takes us to new business. We start new business with item A, application for an original Class B fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor license for FCH Germantown LLC, located at North 116 West 15841 Main Street. The Supper Club agent, Sean Bowe.
Move approval is presented. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? This did come up through public safety tonight. Trustee Hudson, anything to add in regards to that?
It was a unanimous decision with trustee Peeper abstaining.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I recuse
Not opposed?
myself.
I'm sorry. Trustee Peeper, are you abstaining?
Yes, I recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. One abstain. Next item under, motion passes. Next item under new business is item B, temporary outside premise extension application. The petitioner is Sean Bowe, FCH Germantown LLC, for the property located at North 116 West 15863 Main Street.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded by trustee Jan Miller.
David Bum.
Yes.
Trustee Bum first.
Yeah.
Second
And
Kaminsky.
Kaminsky.
Discussion on the motion to approve. Again, this also came through public safety. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I recuse myself.
One abstain. Next item under new business is item C, temporary outside premise extension application for the petitioner of Sean Bowe, FCH Germantown LLC, for the property located at North 116 West 15841 Main Street.
I will make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion made and seconded, made by trustee Baum, seconded by trustee Rick Miller. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed?
I
Motion
recuse
carries.
myself.
One abstain. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Appreciate your presence. Next item under new business is new business item D. This is a lease agreement between the Village of Germantown and the Junior Warhawks Baseball Program. Gil, got some information to bring us.
Thank you for having me. Every 2 years for each of the major sports, youth sports programs within the Village of Germantown that use fields and park property, we do a lease agreement with them to allow them to use the fields almost exclusively, though not. And we use that money for field maintenance costs. So I'm coming for you before you to have the Junior Warhawks baseball lease agreement, which expired at the end of December in 2023. I would like to ask for an increase in the cost from $3,000 to $4,000 a year for the 2024-25 calendar years. One thing too that I might note is its lease agreement hasn't changed in the last 4 years. We've had the same lease agreement. But due to increase in field maintenance costs, I'm asking to increase this. And the 4,000 is basically based on a $20 per player fee. And the $20 per player fee is what I've charged both the soccer program and the football program. So this is in line with the other charges for the other sports programs. I took this before the Park Commission at their January meeting, and it was, everyone voted for it. No other language or change has been made to the actual agreement itself. And also, please note, I did share all this information with the board baseball commissioners before I raised the price, and they were fine with it. They agreed that they were willing to do so.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions or?
Make a motion to approve the new Warhawks baseball agreement as noted.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Kaminsky, second by trustee Baum. Discussion on the motion to approve.
Can I ask what the reasoning is for increasing the dues to the Germantown Junior Warhawks?
Bill, the question from trustee Pieper is, what is the reason for raising the fees from 3,000 to 4,000?
Well, all of the money that we make off these, the youth fees that we charge the sports programs go back into field maintenance. They repair the fields, they fertilize, aerate, and do weed control on all of our parks and ball fields. And so this cost helps cover that. And they came before the board a year ago as the increase in cost to be able to do all that work on the fields. So we're not making any revenue, we're just paying for the cost of the maintenance.
And this increase is similar or in percentage of increase similar to what was done for the soccer and or football programs?
Yes, sir. Yes, $20 per player.
So the increase was $1,000 for maintenance of the field per year?
Ma'am, the lease agreement goes back 4 years ago. There hasn't been an increase in 4 years. So yes, there was, and also due to the increase in players that have joined the league in the last 4 years, that's why it went up $1,000.
I don't think there's been an increase in the leagues because having children that have played for the Junior Warhawks, I don't think there's been an increase in players. But I guess I'm having a hard time voting for this when I don't see sufficient evidence of the cost going up by $1,000 each year. And then the cost is being passed on to the parents like me.
The cost hasn't gone up in 4 years.
Okay, can you provide the evidence showing that the cost has gone up that much in 4 years? Can you provide any documentation as to what the
I have
cost is for the
lease
maintenance of the
agreements on
fields?
file that show that they were paying the same cost, the 3,000.
Yeah, I'm not asking about how much they were paying. I'm asking for documentation on how much the cost has gone up to maintain the fields year by year.
Yes, I have a contract with TLC that I can compare from the 2021 and 2022 years.
Is that the same contractor that was taking care of the football field as well, that prices went up like 150%?
That's the same right, yes. And
Oh, has it
also
been
I put
sent
that
out
out
for
on
bid?
bid, and they were also the lowest out of all the people
When,
that,
when was it sent out for bid? For the baseball
Um,
fields, not the football field.
this was done, I believe, I don't know, it was done last summer, I believe. I can find out the exact date, but I came before this board and showed that where they had up in their price increase and gave the board 2 copies of other companies that also
Yeah,
bid
that
on
was
it.
for the football field, but not for the baseball field. So I'm curious to see where the RFP was for maintenance for the baseball field.
But in there, it shows the cost of what they do for all the fields.
So the baseball field was looped in with the football field, because that's not what I read.
The football.
Freidenfeld.
Right.
All of the athletic fields were included in that one contract, and were part of that same RFP process.
And when was that, Administrator Kreklow?
Last summer.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind, would you be able to forward me the RFP and the bids that were submitted for it?
Sure, we can get that information, the report that went to the village board, and the proposals that were submitted. We can
I'd
get that.
appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
Further discussion on the motion to approve? Trustee Warren.
So Gil kind of filled us in at the Senior Advisory Committee on this item. And I think there's two components to this. It's not only the inflation of the labor to do it, but as you mentioned, more players mean more maintenance. There's just more use on the fields. So I can see why there would be an increase in that. So it's not only the inflation component of it, but it's more playership, which means more maintenance.
There aren't more players, though. I believe Mr. Otto's in the audience, and he is part of the Junior Warhawks and would be able to confirm that there aren't additional players.
If I'm
There's the same
going to
amount of
take
teams,
comments
same
from
amount
the
of teams,
audience,
and same amount of players on each team. Players has not increased.
I can't speak to the baseball program per se. I do know the number of the girls program, which is part of the Junior Warhawks, has gone down significantly. I can tell you that number has gone down by probably 60 over the last 3 to 4 years. But I don't know the true number of the boys program. I don't sit on the board of the Junior Warhawks or anything, but I do know that there's, tension in the fact of what the school district pays for the fields and the village pays. And if I were to say the amount of work that they do on the fields is probably pretty significant. And I think that if you had discussion with them, they'd probably be even willing to pick up more of the labor side to not have that cost passed along to their players. So
I would agree to that as well. And I know that Menominee Falls, the Landon Stoneman, they have their teams come and do maintenance on the field themselves instead of having fees raised and passed on to the families.
further discussion on the motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item E, request for funds for seminars, meetings, and travel by trustee Jan Miller. Village Administrator.
This is an item that was added to the agenda at the request of trustee Jan Miller, with the second signature coming from trustee Hudson. Trustee Miller had contacted me previously, inquiring whether there was funding available for her as a trustee to attend a seminar that Ehlers puts on annually for local government finance professionals in Wisconsin Dells. And I indicated there were not funds specifically for that at the disposal of individual trustees. However, that was something that the board could decide to move forward with. That was the will of the board. So she did submit this request for the agenda item, and that's what is before the board for discussion and decision this evening.
Ward? Trustee Hudson.
So I'm fascinated by this question, to be honest with you. So, and kind of, I guess, a geeky HR kind of way. So my first question is this, she's not asking for reimbursement, correct? She's asking for prior approval, right? So, because there's a difference between the two.
My understanding was that she was asking for prior approval.
So the conference hasn't happened yet, so we're not reimbursing expense. And so for the expenses that we've reimbursed from the past out of this fund, have we ever done that?
Not for a trustee since I've been with the Village of Germantown.
Have we ever given prior approval or reimbursed any trustee expense out of this fund in the past?
Not since I've been in Germantown, no.
So never. So this would truly be precedent setting.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, so thank you. And then who is the target audience of the conference, please?
These would be people with finance directors of municipalities, accountants. For example, the village accountant will be attending the seminar. It is that there are some seminars that the League of Municipalities and others put on that are more geared towards elected officials. In my opinion, this is one that's more geared towards staff with some expertise in the field.
And how do we know that, please?
From my discussions with Ehlers, from reviewing the marketing material on the seminar. Our accountant attended this last year. I'm a panelist on a session this time around. So I have never attended this particular seminar myself. But I'm familiar with the content and know people who have attended.
And so if we start okaying things like this, would we not then also have to reimburse for all of the associated expenses, travel, meals, hotel?
I think this is a question where it's a policy question for the village board. And I think that I believe you could set that policy if you chose to set it in terms of what the trustees should be reimbursed for what types of seminars, what types of training, if any. Right now, the policy is limited. I believe it's $100 a month stipend that each trustee receives to support, whatever training or activities that trustees would like to attend or participate in. There is no money in the 2024 budget for additional expenses beyond that. But again, that's at the discretion of the village board.
And then thank you. And I have a whole nother set of geeky type questions, but I will wait to see if I need to ask those. Thank you.
Trustee Nyrider.
Excuse me. So we're saying that a trustee has $100, did you say, Steve, a month that they can?
Yes, $100 stipend each month.
Okay. I don't have any problems for Trustee Miller or anyone else attending the event. And while it may not be exclusively just, all for trustees, there's always that it's good to learn. And another set of ears doesn't hurt. But I think if, I would say I would be in favor of the cost of $200 to attend it with no mileage, or I don't know if there's any layover of any kind or stayover or whatever. But I have no problem paying the $200 for a trustee to go out and try and learn and benefit themselves, but also benefit the taxpayers of Germantown.
Trustee Rick Miller.
It's pretty easy to me. I mean, we get $100 a month for any expenses related to the job. That's $1,200 a year, and that's where it should come out of. I mean, it's that simple. We can argue about our generous pay after this, but You know, that's not part of it right now. I think that's what the stipend is meant for. It's $100 a month. It's $1,200 a year. And that's what it should be used for. Events like this, civic events, anything like that.
Trustee Jan Miller.
I just would like to say that we passed the 2024 budget, and there is, we do get a village board budget. In the budget, line item number 10-51-530-7700 is titled Seminars, Meetings, and Training. And I asked Finance Director Matt Uselding if there were any, and oh, by the way, we budgeted $500 for this line item. And I said, were there any expenses against this at this point? And he said, no. And I said, well, can you give me an example of what we used this on last year? And he said, there were 3 mid-moraine dinner meetings that were submitted. And also the dues for the mid-moraine legislative seminars that we do. You have to pay an annual dues. And I said to Matt, I said, it says $1,159. I don't have his email, but he said that approximately $1,100 was indeed for the dues. And I told Matt, I said, it's in the wrong place. We actually have a line item for dues, 10-51-530, 3,500. And he said, yes, it was misplaced in the budget. So my point is this, we do have a salary, we do get a stipend, the stipends for computers, I get that. We don't have a line item for computers, but we certainly have one for seminars, meetings, and trainings. And if we're not going to use it, I think that training a trustee is no different than training someone that's on staff. In addition to that, this particular seminar is put on by Ellers. Ellers is one of our suppliers. And it's about municipal debt, tax incremental financing, public funds investing. There's nothing in here that doesn't apply to all of the trustees. And so it's not just about me wanting to improve myself, but it's an opportunity for the rest of the trustees to also improve themselves and attend such seminars.
Trustee Warren, did you have your hand up? I thought I saw your hand up. I'm sorry.
I don't dispute the value of it, but I share the same sentiment as trustee Miller, that it could come out of, or it should come out of the $1,200 that we receive as a stipend.
Need a motion.
Following board process or Robert's rules, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion made to request the funds for seminars, meetings, and travel by trustee Chan Miller. Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second. I don't know.
You know what I'm going to ask?
I'm guessing, yes. I think that this is probably okay for her to participate in. It is a budgeted item within the village board's budget, and it's just a question of how you're allocating it specifically. So I think it's probably okay.
All right, just want to make sure we do it. If we're going to set a precedent, we want to do it right. Further discussion on the motion to approve? No further discussion. Trustee Hudson?
So don't we then also have to approve all of the associated expense legally? So if we're approving it, we're saying that these are occurring as part of our job function. That's what we're saying.
If we're setting that
And
precedent.
if we are saying that, then we have to pay for associated expense.
Sounds like a wonderful question for labor lawyer. Um, I think I probably at some level agree with you, Trustee Hudson, that setting the precedent that this is part of the position is part of that. With that said, I think because you are also kind of the boss in this case, meaning the board, not individually, that if there is a request to limit that expenditure to certain amounts, that you're limited by that, but I'm not real comfortable with that because labor issues are really out of my purview typically.
And there are certain IRS regulations that talk about this issue.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Please for opposed.
My hand's raised.
I'm sorry. Okay, trustee Pieper is included in the opposed.
Is your hand raised, Kaminsky?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Peeper.
Correct. Trustee, motion fails. Next item under new business is item F, engagement of Godfrey and Kahn as environmental counsel with respect to the property located at North 116 West 15843 Main Street.
Sure. So this is just before you this evening. As we've previously discussed, Phase 2 did reveal some environmental concerns on the property. The board gave certain direction as it related to resolving those issues, which included blight designations and kind of taking steps back. As part of working through the issues, come to recognize that environmental law can be highly specialized at times. And to the extent that we may need them, having the engagement agreement in place, we believe is appropriate. Obviously, we would look to use them only to supplement where I otherwise don't have the capabilities to do it. Given the nature of the contamination, we don't expect a significant reliance on Godfrey and Kahn. These are fairly simple issues to resolve as a whole, but just to have them as backup to be available just in case.
And that requires a retainer.
Correct. Typically, most lawyers, when they are going to charge fees under our ethical rules, require an engagement letter that's in place unless certain exceptions apply, none of which would apply here.
Board, trustee Jan Miller.
Okay, first of all, there's no attachment. I don't understand what the cost for this attorney would be, but the first step was for the engagement and requesting a price reduction. So why are we even going forward if we don't know if the price reduction is what we're talking about?
Well, the price reduction is it's related in the sense that it is being requested as a result of the environmental contamination that is found on site. The other issues that are related to that processing, the need to kind of take that step back that we talked about to do a blight designation, to acquire it in a manner that ensures that we retain appropriate liability limitations. That is really the services that we're looking at here as it relates to that. Certainly, we would at this point not look to significantly use them at this point until we know that we've got an agreement on that price reduction in place, which I will tell you at this point we do not, but that's mostly because Mr. Grosnick was out of the country for the second half of January. So he is now back and we've been in discussions and we're working on that price reduction.
If you're working on it, you don't have an answer yet?
It's not an accepted offer. It's still within a discovery phase.
Right. We do not have at this point an accepted amendment to the offer that would reflect a price adjustment, but we are working on that. In fact, I had a couple calls today with his counsel on that issue.
What is the cost of Godfrey and Kahn?
Well, they're an hourly retainer, and that means that it's based on however much we use them. Their rates are, as the agreement says, ranging from $330 to $895. The individual that we would use is being done because he is at the low end of that spectrum, as opposed to his partner Arts, which is the guy that I talked to heading into this. He's one of the 895 guys, but we would not expect him to do any work on this.
So what was the range again, please?
330 to 895
per hour, correct?
Understood.
So for clarity, just make sure I'm clear, 'cause I'm not an attorney. So the engagement, what we're approving is the engagement, but if we don't engage them, there's no cost. We're just saying that we're offering a letter so that if we need them, they're there, but if we don't need them, we don't pay them.
Correct. That the engagement at this point is just to ensure that they are, quote unquote, our lawyers, that they would not be conflicted out by somebody else, a potential developer, for example, down the road. And because it is based purely on the hour, if we don't utilize their services as part of the engagement, then they do not charge us anything because they haven't provided a service.
Trustee Pieper.
Would this retainer be used for eminent domain?
We don't at this point anticipate that eminent domain is going to be necessary. The property owner does appear to be open to some level of a price reduction. The issue that we're having is working through how we're going to determine what that is.
Well, this seems a little premature to hire an attorney to, I'm still not even quite clear as to what we are going to be hiring an attorney to do. To argue for a price reduction, what is the attorney retainer going to actually do?
He would be available to provide additional resources as it relates to environmental law and regulations that may be above and beyond my expertise and capabilities.
Okay. But we wouldn't need that unless the price reduction was accepted, correct?
Correct, which is why we wouldn't utilize him until we know that we have an engagement, an agreement and amendment on that document in the first place.
But then once we have the agreement and an agreement in place, then why would we even need them once we have an agreement?
Because the part of the directive of this body was to seek the price reduction and also to provide additional time to allow us to go back and to take some of the regulatory steps that are necessary to ensure that we maintain the local government exemption from liability on the contamination that is present. And so some of those steps may be assisted by Attorney Nelson in this case as part of that.
This seems extremely premature, and I don't see a need to enter into an agreement with an attorney at this time. I'm definitely opposed to this.
Trustee Warren.
I think we need to differentiate between agreement and engagement.
Correct.
If I understand this correctly, I assume, Attorney Sajak, that you have a pretty good working relationship with this consulting firm, and we'd rather have them on our team instead of the other team, and that's why we, I guess, want to reserve them just in case we want to use them. Is that kind of what we're doing here?
Correct. In my opinion, Art, who is the partner, and Mr. Nelson, whose history actually is with the DNR itself, before he moved over to the evil side, as he says, that they are among the best in the state on environmental issues, and it's appropriate to have them in place. As to the timing of it, as I indicate, we're looking to just get them on board so that they are available to assist us if needed, primarily because if there is an amendment that is put in place, it's still going to move quickly. And so to do an amendment and then to come back and then, to get somebody on board where, the clock is ticking as all of that is going into place. So we anticipate that once there is an agreement on the amendment to the purchase agreement, that will move sufficiently quickly, and the timing will be sufficiently tight that it just makes sense to have the arrangement in place ahead of time. But certainly, if you folks decide that you want to wait and see, that's fine. It's not a big deal.
Trustee Jan Miller.
I've heard this. It's of utmost importance. We really need to get this going, or going at about a year, I think. We've made an offer. The board directed to make a reduction to see if they'll even bite. I think we need to start with that. And when we're talking about blighted or, environmental issues, I thought what you were going to do is go to Washington County or DNR and
Careful.
to a different resource, pick up the phone and find out if there are any opportunities for a blighted situation where you could, what we needed to, I think for me, I needed to understand if there was if it could be, the property could be regulated that way or viewed that way. That's what I thought we were going to do. And if there isn't a price reduction, I am not interested in supporting this at all. I agree with Trustee Pieper.
Right. Well, I mean, based on the board's directive, if there is no price adjustment, then that ends the agreement, the purchase agreement. It is done at that point, and there is no need to spend any more time or effort dealing with it. If there is an amendment and an agreement that's approved based on this body's direction, then we anticipate, what we are at least initially talking about is a time frame that may be as quick as 45 days to go back and try to take some of those back steps. That necessitates, in my opinion, having somebody on board that can help answer some of those questions that you just raised in terms of, are there DNR programs and what, how do we phrase this appropriately to ensure that we qualify here versus this other program, those types of concerns.
I think it's the cart before the horse. I think we need to get the first agreement first. We also did some testing, and the testing proved certain things about the soil and possible other problems with the property. So how much have we spent on this, just investigating this purchase? Mr. Krecklow, do you have a number?
I do not have that number off the top of my head, no.
Well, I think we spent 12,000. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I have no idea if that number is correct.
It's hard to talk about something that we have to spend a lot of money on if we don't know how much money we spent on it already.
It's harder to talk about something that's been mostly discussed in closed session and carefully couched in regards to what this topic is, which is purely an agreement or an engagement of Godfrey and Cron for environmental counsel. All we're agreeing to is to use them if we need them. If we need them for additional steps, they are the best that there is in this area. If we don't get them, he will. And if we don't put them under an agreement, he will, because they're the best. And the argument for or against would be basically environmental, even if you wanted to say no deal. And they just came back and said, look, based on our agreement, we're going to hold you to the deal. Wouldn't you want an environmental attorney there to help argue against that? Or would you rather have it on the other side where he would argue for them of why we have to pay it? What would your choice be?
My hand's been up for a while.
I know, I see your hand up. I will recognize you as soon as Trustee Miller no longer has the floor.
Just making sure.
Trustee Miller, anything else?
No.
Thank you. Trustee Pieper,
Usually when you retain an attorney, you pay a retainer and then the hourly rate once the retainer is used. What is the retainer to hire this attorney?
we're
No.
not approving a retainer, we're approving an engagement.
That
Right,
tells
there-
me nothing. What are we actually approving? An hourly rate, a retainer?
No,
There is no retainer. It is purely an hourly as used arrangement, just like my arrangement with the village. There is no retainer. You guys don't pay me in advance on anything.
We pay you by the hour.
I just get paid by the hour, which would be the same
Correct.
thing as this arrangement is being proposed to be.
And we have paid you by the hour, how many hours up to now regarding this transaction of property?
to whom?
Attorney Sajak.
It's all part of his,
No,
I-
we pay him by hour. He doesn't,
I-
he's not guaranteed a salary each year.
I-
He's paid hourly.
Trustee Pieper, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I could certainly provide it to you.
If
In
you wouldn't
terms of-
mind, I would appreciate it.
In terms of other costs, what I know is that the phase two cost us $8,000. The
Okay.
phase one was a couple $1,000s. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. We also did the survey, which was $2,100, I think. And we did the wetland delineation, which cost was, I don't recall specifically, $1,500, I think.
Okay.
But I may be wrong on that.
And what is our earnest money into this property if we back out? What are we up to lose?
Well, at this point, it's my opinion that we wouldn't lose anything because the issues that we've identified are related to the property such that our existing agreement would say that we would walk away while retaining the earnest money.
So we can walk away. And how much is the earnest money?
As I recall, the total is 150, I think, without having the agreement in front of me.
We could walk away without our tail between our legs from this agreement and still come out somewhat ahead.
that is
Does
not
this-
what's for discussion here. The discussion is to request
understand.
engagement of Godfrey, not if we're going to walk away from the deal or
I
not. Can we
understand.
stay on topic, please?
I am staying on topic and I'm wondering if the topic has anything to do with the easement in between Big Boy and the Beerstuba. No, don't shake it. Don't shake your head.
I don't
It's your question.
understand. I don't
Does this
understand the
have
question.
anything to do with the easement or the purchase of the property, those two properties? What
No.
is the plan? This is not in closed session. This is in open session. I know I need to be careful with what I talk about. What are the plans for this land?
The plan is to approve or not approve the engagement of Godfrey and Kahn as environmental counsel with respect to the property that's behind
You
what
guys
used
are
to be
being
known as
irresponsible.
Big Boys.
Okay. You guys are being irresponsible right now, and I hope you all know it if you vote for this. Bang your gavel at me. I don't care.
Trustee Baum.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion to approve.
Seconded, please.
Right.
Thank you, trustee Miller. Motion made by trustee Baum,
Yes. No further discussion. Trustee Chan Miller.
I would say, I agree with trustee Pieper. We need to not create situations that don't exist. And I just don't feel like, spending, or going for an engagement with an attorney in the hopes that something happens, because we've been waiting for a year. I'm done.
Further discussion.
Me.
Trustee Pieper.
Yep. Is there even a cap on this retainer? So we would retain this attorney for an hourly rate. Is there a cap on it? Can this attorney charge the village $50,000 without us knowing?
Oh, the only way he would be able to charge us $50,000 if he puts in $50,000 worth of work.
That's easy to do for an attorney now, isn't it?
This is not a judgment on attorneys.
No, it's not a judgment on attorneys. I have the utmost
No, it's
respect
not.
for Attorney Sajak.
Further
I'm-
discussion.
What is the cap? If we hire them, is there a cap?
We're not
You just
hiring
told
them.
me no. Can anybody give some clarification? Is there a cap?
There is no specific cap proposed at this time. It's just based on
Thank you. That's
staff's
all I needed to know.
determination of need.
That's all I needed to know.
Further discussion. No further discussion. Roll call vote.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Nyrider,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Jay Miller,
No.
trustee Phil Hudson,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky, trustee Pieper,
No, and I'm disappointed in all of you.
village president Walter.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item, G and
The
H are for
taxpayers
closed
are
session,
going to be
starting
paying
with
for that. The
item G,
taxpayers.
impact fee claim of Heritage Place Joint Venture LLC. The village board may convene into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate. Excuse me.
Administrator Kreckler,
And
I think
item
you're calling
H,
me.
Administrator 2024 Performance Goals Update. The village board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and then may reconvene in the open session and take such action as it deems appropriate.
Motion to go into closed sessions for item G and H.
To include
Village administrator and village attorney.
for G, but for H,
That would just be the village administrator.
that's correct. Motion made by trustee Baum. We have a second.
Second by.
Who's calling me?
Trustee Warren is the second. Discussion on the motion to go into closed session. Trustee Baum, the motion. Trustee Warren, the second.
Are we doing for trustee Baum made the motion to go into closed session for G and H?
Yes.
Okay, for Krecklo to be in attendance for item G only?
No, item G would be village attorney and Administrator Krecklo. Item H would be Administrator Krecklo only.
Okay, and who seconded, please?
Trustee Warren.
Thank you for that.
Any discussion on the motion? No discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Warren. Trustee Baum. Trustee Nyrider.
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Hudson.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Peeper.
Aye.
Village President Walter.
Aye. Motion passes. Go into closed session in a couple minutes after the person in the audiovisual room is completed. Please turn off your microphones.